A motorcycle so fast, it was literally banned from the streets.
Welcome back to Uncommon Think, where we look past the ordinary to see how the impossible gets built. Today, we're dissecting the ultimate apex predator of the two-wheel world, the Kawasaki Ninja H2R.
Let's kick things off with Section 1, Forging Absolute Madness. You see, Kawasaki didn't just build a bike here. They unleashed a 326 horsepower psychological weapon. To actually pull this off, their motorcycle division had to team up with their aerospace company, their gas turbine and machinery company, and even their corporate technology division. It is essentially a highly classified aerospace project just engineered on two wheels. Absolute madness, right? Which brings us to part 2, the supercharged part. To power this absolute beast, Kawasaki built a custom 998cc inline 4-cylinder engine completely from scratch. It had to be tough enough to handle, literally, nearly double the stress of a normal liter bike engine. But take a look at that massive number, 130,000. That's the RPM of the bespoke centrifugal supercharger. Driven by a planetary gear train, this forged aluminum impeller spins at up to 9.2 times the speed of the crankshaft, pumping over 200 liters of air per second. All that air creates 35 psi of maximum boost pressure, which is about 2.4 times normal atmospheric pressure. But here is the true stroke of engineering genius. It compresses all that air with such minimal heat gain that they didn't even need to add a heavy space-consuming intercooler. I mean, it's just incredibly efficient. And the result of all that compressed air? A legendary claimed peak output of 326 horsepower when you factor in the ram air effect. And if you aren't familiar, that is exactly what it sounds like. Highly pressurized air forced directly into the intake at high speeds. This is the exact number that established the mythological status of the H2R, rivaling, and honestly, in some cases exceeding, multi-million-dollar MotoGP prototype racing machines. Moving right along to Section 3, Sculpted for Extreme Speed. With that much power, simply keeping the bike on the ground becomes a very real physics problem. At these insane speeds, wind resistance increases exponentially. So to stop it from taking flight, it has a neutral stance paired with these massive carbon fiber upper and lower wings. They feature winglets that smooth out the airflow and generate enormous downforce. Under the surface, a highly advanced electronics suite takes over. Traction control predicts wheel slip, launch control manages those brutal wheelies off the line, and engine brake control keeps the chassis perfectly stable when you roll off the throttle. Now let's get into part 4, myth versus real-world reality. So, you've probably seen the viral myths online, specifically that legendary run by Kenan Sofuoglu across a bridge in Turkey, where the dashboard read 400 kilometers per hour. But let's look at the real-world testing data for a second. Kawasaki claims up to 326 horsepower at the crank, but on a dynamometer, standard physics still apply. Factoring in roughly a 10% transmission loss from the crank to the rear wheel, the actual horsepower reaching the tarmac is consistently between 230 and 240. And that wheel horsepower is exactly why the 400 km per hour myth on a stock H2R is just that, a myth. The math simply doesn't lie. The engine maxes out its power curve around 14,000 RPM. In 6th gear, hitting the rev limiter physically caps the bike at 228.2 miles per hour. Because of aerodynamic drag, a stock H2R can't actually quite pull to the red line in top gear, resulting in a true real-world top speed of about 212 miles per hour or 342 kilometers per hour. So that viral 400 km per hour run, well, mostly a wildly optimistic, uncalibrated speedometer and, frankly, a brilliant PR exercise.
But please don't let that reality check fool you. Just look at these acceleration numbers. 0 to 200 miles per hour in just 16.83 seconds. A quarter mile absolutely destroyed in 9.64 seconds at 164 miles per hour. This bike is so viciously powerful that, given its short wheelbase, you literally cannot use full throttle until you are already going over 100 miles per hour. If you try, the bike will just flip backwards or completely vaporize the rear tire. Even having to feather the throttle like that, it remains the fastest accelerating production bike in the world. Which leads us with the ultimate question. Even if you had the money and a closed circuit, could you even handle the world's wildest machine? It takes a very specific kind of mindset to throw a leg over a 230 horsepower supercharged rocket. Thank you so much for joining us on this explainer. If you want to see the unconventional genius behind the world's wildest machines, hit that subscribe button and join the Uncommon Things squad. See you next time.